Hey, good morning, guys. Yes, it is. It's Wednesday, the 22nd of July. So, what are we going to be talking about today? So, I thought today we talk about when is the right time to get rid of your lawnmower that you've had for years? And I'm going to kind of give you some things that my customers tell me. I'm under the firm belief that hang tight. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. If you didn't already know it, yep, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Wednesday, July 22nd of 2026. I hear this a lot, and that is, what should I ask for my used lawnmower? And when is a good time to start thinking about upgrading? Now, I can tell you when it comes to me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, I mean, the only time that you'll see me move off what I have is if I can get something a lot nicer, newer out of what I can sell the one that I've got for. And that's what I did this year. I had a guy, he wanted to sell his 777 John Deere commercial, was twice the size of what I had. And I actually gave him less, it was non running, than what I sold my 445, the Z445 zero turn, and that I also got twice as much as what I paid for that 13 years ago. So my thought process is probably the best time to get rid of it is when it starts nickel and diming you. And actually it's before it starts nickel and diming you. I have a lot of customers that talk about their 10-year plan. And that means they'll keep the lawnmower for 10 years. And then at the end of 10 years, they go out and they buy a new one. And then they put the old one on the market, usually for half, three quarters of what they paid for it, and put it towards the new one. I've seen a lot of lawnmowers from my customers that were 10 years old, but it looked just like they were a year old. They took care of them. And they also brought good money on the open market because people, whether you like it or not, if it's a turd, it's a turd. People are looking at what kind of shape is the deck in? Is the seat all duct taped or is it, a decent seat? The controls on it. If you have a zero turn and you let go of the handles and it's still moving, there's something wrong in the adjustments and stuff. How do you come about trying to figure out what to ask for your used lawnmower? And the way I look at it is you can't go up, but you can come down. So figure out what you'd like to get out of it, add a few $100s more to it, and then take that when it's offered. That way, the buyer is thinking he got a good deal with saving 200, and you're getting exactly what you wanted out of it to start with. If you set it for exactly what you want for it, and you're not willing to wiggle on that price, good chances are most people are going to walk right by you. They need to feel like the win too, like they're saving money. And in all actuality, it's just a head game of any kind, that I tend to keep a lawnmower in good shape. And I mean, I got the shop and everything, and they usually say you can tell a car mechanic by the vehicle they drive because it's just duct taped and held together because they know they can fix it on the side of the road. I don't see that too much with lawnmower guys. We have decent mowers. Claude's got a decent John Deere ride on that he loves and he takes good care of. I've got a really nice zero turn John Deere that I keep in good shape. It's always garage kept. But what I can tell you is in the last 20 years, it hasn't cost me anything to mow my yard other than the yearly service, occasional belts and blades if I need it, but that's maintenance. But the actual money that I paid for something, I usually got more than what I paid for it when I got ready to sell it. It's just like my last zero turn. I doubled the money on. What did I give for it? It was 12 or 1300. I give a sheriff for that because he wanted to go into a Ferris. He wanted to get a new one. So I bought that, full intentions of keeping it. And I turned around and I had a Cub Cadet zero turn that I sold because I didn't need it anymore, and I got back out of it what I had into it, the zero turn. The way I look at it is, how much is a lawnmower worth to you per year? And to me, at 10 years that I had it, because that's what my customers tell me, is once you hit that 10-year period, that lawnmower is making money for you. It doesn't owe you a dime, and you're in the black, they say. But like I said yesterday in the short, why is it some people can get 10 years easily and other people lucky to get 2? It's all about how you value what you're buying. That's one of the biggest things that I see that has changed over time, and I blame us for not instilling it in our kids, is when you spend money. I mean, I've been to a lot of auctions, okay? And here's what's been going on for the past 10, 15 years. You have an old timer that passes away, the kids get the stuff. The kids don't want the stuff, all the collectibles and all that. It has no meaning, it has no value to them. Whereas to their parents, they collect the glassware from all over the US and pottery, and it just wasn't there. And I can remember going to auctions and fighting over, good quality furniture, that was, what they call it, tiger eye maple, tiger something maple. But if you saw that, that was, and if you saw a piece of furniture that had the claws on the legs, you did a double take. Now they're lucky to get $100 out of that piece of equipment, a piece of furniture, where it would bring anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 just 20 years ago. So what I found is, what I see is, and I see it in my kids too, is they don't have much value in what they're buying. It's just a means to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, okay? And they don't take care of it. It sits outside in the yard, the zero turn, and the only time they think about it is when they want to get ready to mow with it, right? And then if it's not mowing the right way, they start toggling, because let's say the PTO switch went bad. So let's make a light switch into a PTO switch. And we just picked up a zero turn that the PTO switch had gone bad. They cut all the wires, bypassed all the safety switches, and actually had a light switch that turned the PTO clutch on and off. Unreal. That's what you end up with when you place no value on the piece of equipment that you have. That machine should easily have lasted 10, 20 years. And it was 3 years old, and the hind tires are still locked up. It's going to need a starter. We just put a solenoid on it, and it's to the point because the customer said, pick it up and then give me an idea of what it's going to cost to fix it. And I'm going to tell them it ain't worth fixing. Stop having us pick up crap. No, when I'm buying something, I'll be honest with you, I'm buying it with the thought process, if I, Eric, have to get out from underneath it and liquidate to get cash, can I do it at the price that I paid for? Or am I going to take one hell of a beating? And 99.9% of the time, I'm making money if I had to sell. But I very rarely sell. You know, it's kind of like my gun collection. I've got two huge, what are they, 50 gun safes in the house that I bought it from Tractor Supply. I bought one and then I filled that, bought another, filled that. And that's where I keep all the firearms, the ammunitions, and that stuff in the house, locked up in the safes. Okay? One of the things that my grandfather instilled in me when I was young was guns always hold their value. You know, I was brought up not to fear guns, I was brought up to respect them, to always point them in a safe direction, always treat them as if they were loaded. And then as I got older, I became a hunter safety course instructor for the state of New York. And my wife and I did that, and we had thousands of kids go through our course, you know, and we did it for, I don't know, 14, 15 years. And we'd have still been doing it, but we had so much going on that we couldn't devote what we felt we should to the course. And thankfully, there were another young couple coming up through that did want to take over. But I instilled that in my son. You know, I said the gun is always going to have a value, but it all depends upon what you're paying for it. If you're paying brand new price, the idea that you're going to get brand new price out of it is probably minuscule. Why do I say that? Because I mean, it's not as bad as a vehicle. When you buy a brand new vehicle, it drops 10 grand before they can get it out of the showroom floor when they're putting that registration sticker of yours on. So when I buy something, I'm buying it with the idea of, can I get up from underneath it if I really need the cash fast? And that's what I've got in my nest around me here is everything is bought and paid for other than the new tractor that we just picked up this year. And if I had to sell it in a hurry, I would probably close to double my money to what I've got invested in it. And not too many people can say that. Even at auction, if I had an auction here next week, I pretty much could double my money on every piece of equipment that I've got here on the farm. Because we take care of it. If we buy one that needs some work, we do the work that it needs. You know, everything from a rake missing a lot of teeth. I bought a rake and put all brand new teeth on it, like 130 teeth at $6 a piece. But I want it in good shape. And the equipment lasts because I'm a firm believer in grease is cheaper than repairs. Grease the thing. If it's got a grease fitting, grease it. If it doesn't and it's a sealed bearing, all right. That's what we had go on the baler was a sealed bearing. You need to do the same thing when it comes to your buying habits. When you're looking at buying a lawnmower, can you get it for the price that you could unload it for in a hurry and get out from underneath it? I mean, if you got wads of money, don't worry about it. But the way my thought process works is I'm always buying at wholesale prices, whether it's for myself or for the shop. And it's worked well for me. I mean, we had yesterday a guy dropped off his lawnmower last week, push mower. Him and his brother have been working on it. They're in their 80s. Couldn't get it to run. So he dropped it off with us and said, can you fix this? We end up putting a new coil on it, a new cable, an hour's labor, ended up being $116. Claude gave him a call yesterday. And I could hear him in the background talking to Claude saying, well, I didn't expect to pay that kind of money put into that mower. If I'd have known it was going to cost that much, I would have told you don't bother. So I turned right around and I looked at Claude and I said, offer him $50 for it. I'll eat the bill and I'll give him 50 cash. Because the lawnmower's immaculate. It's self-propelled. It won't take much to sell that. And the guy took the $50 and he come and told me, he said, Eric, I give 25 for that at an auction years ago, and now I'm 25 bucks to the good, and I've had it for 7 or 8 years. I said, I understand that, but I said that right now, if I see a couple that wants to go out and get themselves a self-propelled push mower, they're looking in the $400 to $600 range. This one here is going to be 150 because of the 116 plus the 50 I'm giving you, but it's not, because I marked the price up on the coil, marked the price up on the cable. You take that away, and I didn't spend maybe 35, 40 minutes on that unit. But at that unit goes to an hour's labor, okay? Am I going to get hurt by that push more by buying it for 50 bucks? No. Nope. Time I add the 50 bucks plus the cable and the coil, it's not going to be a lot of money. And actually, I had Claude help me load it in the back of my truck, and it sits up here to the house until somebody wants it. I'll throw it on Marketplace, and I know it won't last long because people are constantly looking for what we call camp mowers. And that's the push mower they leave at their camp that they go to during the summer months. And that way they can leave their big rider to home. In the comments, how are you buying? Are you buying because a need, or I guess the thing is when I talk to people about auctions and stuff like that, you need to have a number ahead of time of what you're willing to give for that and be able to stop at that number. I've seen people get stupid at auctions. With me, most of the time when I'm buying a used lawnmower for the shop to resell and stuff like that, I ask the customer what they're looking for. And if there's a big difference between what they want and what I think it's worth, then I just simply decline and say, it's more than what I'm willing to give for it. And you probably could get that full retail if you put it on Marketplace. End of story. I don't try to get them down on it. The hard ones are when they say, well, make me an offer. Well, that means I got to buy and sell the unit. Most of the time, when I throw a number out for a customer that says that, make me an offer, it's usually where I think it's going to be somewhere close. And there's been very few that said, no, I can't accept that. Because I'll explain to them. I got to run it through the shop. I got to do a full service on it. I got to update any belts and blades and all that stuff that you don't have to. So in the comments, how are you doing it? Do you buy for the 10 years and then get rid of it? Or do you just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it and keep right on it going, doing your month or your yearly maintenance on it, keeping it undercover? Or is it sitting outside in the weather and the seat is ripped and your ass gets wet every time you go to mow the yard? On that note, you guys have a great Wednesday. We'll be here bright and early tomorrow morning for another episode of the weekday. Enjoy your day.